Hi, this is Rabbi Tzvi Mandel of Congregation Calvin Yisrael, community of Jewish friends, and it's very special to be here another night, Monday night, Pashas Va'era. And first I'd like to give of a beautiful story. So the great Rabbi Yaakov Emden, who was one of the greatest leaders even before the Zman Baal Shem Tov, before the time of the Baal Shem, had a son, Remeir Constantinina, and his daughter was in her own right a very, very great person, a great righteous person, and a Balas Hasaga, understanding higher levels of spiritualism. And her husband was a great Torah scholar, plus a very influential person, was also a rich person. Both worlds, like they say. And one Friday afternoon, she went with her maid to the market to find a fitting, beautiful fish, L'Kavod Shabbos Kodesh, in honor of the Holy Shabbos. As we know in Shulchan Aruch, it speaks a lot about fish for Shabbos, and the great holy tzaddikim used to look for certain fish exactly for the many reasons. And they gave her a most beautiful fish, and she paid a lot for it. And on the way back, she turned her eyes up to heaven and said, "Father in heaven, you gave me such a beautiful fish, look over the Holy Shabbos. Now I would like you to find a very special guest, a holy, righteous guest to be my guest, so that he could also enjoy this fish, both on a spiritual level and every other level, so that it would be well worth the fish that I bought, the L'Kavod Shabbos Kodesh." And not long after, a carriage pulls up in front of their home, and the great Rabbi Yitzchak Trubitsch, the father of Reb Mechel Zlotcheva, one of the earliest students of the Baal Shem Tov, pulls over in front of the house and asks for a place to stay for Shabbos. Of course, they gave him a respectable place to stay, though they didn't know who he was. And all Shabbos, both the family and the people of the community saw, obviously this is a higher person, but no one bothered to ask who he is. Came after the third meal on Shabbos, and Rabbi Yitzchak Trubitsch lies down a little bit between the third meal and the Meir of the evening service. And at that time, he raised his soul up to go to heaven, and he asks, why was he brought to come to this house for Shabbos? Was there some special sparks that was dependent on him to raise, or was it for some other reason? And they revealed to him that since the woman of the home there was a very righteous woman in her own right, besides her husband was a big Talmid Chacham and a righteous person, and she is also the daughter of Remeir Constantinina, who was a son of Rabbi Yaakov Emden, and she prayed for a special guest, for a holy soul of the generation to come to be their guest, to share the fish that she bought for Shabbos. And since he was one of the loftiest souls of the generation, therefore they wanted him to go there for Shabbos. Okay, they daven the evening service, pray the evening service, and then they eat the fourth meal of Shabbos, the Lav Malka escorting the queen. And then Rabbi Yitzchak Trubitsch goes with his Gaba, with his helper, to his carriage, and as he's walking towards the carriage and gets on the wagon, he turns around and asks for the woman of the home. They bring her, and he says to her, "My good woman, please do not pray anymore for me to come here on Shabbos. I was very, very far when they revealed to me that I must come here to fulfill your prayers, your lofty prayers. Please don't do it again. It wasn't easy for me." great souls, great people, Chassidic. We will start tonight the Kitzer chapter 8. And the last chapter was a both very much practical halacha and also a lot of lofty halachic ideas between the Kitzer and the Rav Shulchan. And the interesting chiddush of the Rav Shulchan, something that no one else speaks about just about, though other commentaries speak about it also, but he's the one who stresses it, that in the morning when one wakes up, if someone wants to think and learning before the blessings on the Torah, it is allowed. Okay, Siman chapter 8. We're going to study about the activities in which one is forbidden to engage from daybreak until after praying the Shachris, the morning service. This contains 6 paragraphs. The first one speaks about personal endeavors. The second to fourth speaks about eating and drinking before morning services. The fifth speaks about greeting people. And the sixth speaks about Torah study. Okay, chapter 8, paragraph 1. From the first light of dawn, which is light that radiates from the sun rising in the east at daybreak, the term Amud HaShachar literally means pillar of the morning. What does this mean? It refers to this light. Halachically, Amud HaShachar, also called Alos HaShachar or daybreak, is the beginning of the day. So that's the earliest start of the day. There's also Netzach Hama, which is later. But this is the beginning of the day, so to say. And since that is the beginning of the time of the Shachris prayer, for if one did pray then, his prayer is valid after the fact, as we mentioned before. In other words, in pressing situations, one can pray Shachris from daybreak, which we're going to have in chapter 18. The optimal time, however, to recite the Shachris Shemona Esrei starts later at sunrise, which is called Netzach Hama, the rays of the sun. Okay, but this is before that. Therefore, it is forbidden for a person to begin any work or to become involved in his personal needs or to set out on a trip before he prays the Shachris, the morning service. This prohibition actually begins a half hour before daybreak, Mishnah Berurah 89. But, okay, we'll leave it at that meanwhile. This prohibition is derived from the verse that states in Tehillim in Psalms 85, verse 14, righteousness will precede him and he will set his footsteps on the way. Righteousness refers to prayer, in which he declares the righteousness of his Creator. The verse is thus teaching that prayer must come first, and only afterward, should he set his footsteps on his way, so to say. That is, to the ways of his desires, in other words, all his personal endeavors. Therefore, we learn out that he could involve himself in his personal activities only after he has prayed. Setting out on a trip is forbidden, since it is also one of his own endeavors. Okay. 2. It is also forbidden for one to eat or drink before praying Shachris, Mishnah Berurah, morning service. Mishnah Berurah in 89:27 writes that one may not eat or drink anything more than the volume of a beitza, that's between 1.2 and 2.2 fluid ounces, beginning 1/2 hour before daybreak, and even less than this is forbidden after daybreak. Okay, we'll see about all these laws soon. As the verse states in Vayikra 19, Leisoichal al hadam, you should not eat upon the blood. This verse is expounded to mean, the sages understand that this means you shall not eat before you pray regarding your blood, in other words, your physical well-being. The unusual wording of the phrase upon the blood is the source for many and varied laws, of which the above is one. that you can't eat before you pray. Anyone who eats